How's it going today? It's 16th of September, Monday. It's a new week. In today's studio, we're gonna be taking a look at the important areas as well as we're gonna be taking a look at potential finances. First, perhaps let's start on a very important area, and from there we can progress to where opportunities might be in the future, if not right now. And we're gonna be closing today's video while taking a look at what's happening in Europe, US, and perhaps Asia. I think there was an article that was published just an hour ago, so I thought I'll read it. And for those of you who are interested in understanding more what's happening, that might be, I haven't read it yet. I hope that will be a very important article, right? And what will be happening in Europe, right? Let's begin. Quickly, just closing week 159 overall was great week. Have done a lot of marketing and reaching out to potential customers and overall prospecting, right? For closing this week, we were taking a look at government contracts and we have a lot of things planned for this week. I have some things to take care of as well. I'm gonna be again doing a lot of marketing and sales calls. Let's begin by taking a look at what's happening in UK. That's the UK conventions global coalition to boost cyber skills and tackle growing threats. Entire article, we won't be able to take a look at the entire article. We're gonna be just taking a look at what would be very important. That will be recent things that happened for UK. That would be UK's central library was attacked by hackers for hire organization, and they have taken down services, right? Uh, this perhaps that will be important as well as entire article. They're going to be taking a look at opportunities. A total of 1.3 million pounds is being made available for organizations such as universities, local councils, and businesses to provide cyber skills training and or found organizations developing new innovation in cyber defense across Northern Ireland and England. So if your organization is based within those areas, perhaps that will be important to receive finances to develop product services. Delivering innovative or delivered by Innovative UK. Applications for the scheme open today and will see grants of up to £150,000 awarded to winning applications by March 2025, right? The entire area of cybersecurity will be very important. I have read a little bit of the contract, and for anyone who would be interested in engaging with Innovate UK, the offering solutions, I think you should be reading entire terms and conditions before engaging with them, right? Part of which, either way, let's progress. Let's progress to the next article, right? Next article, for many people, perhaps they do understand it, that a lot of value is been pegged against oil. So based on oil price and all the way how finances would work, right? That would be value over time is shifting, and some of those contractual agreements when it comes to defense in return for pegging oil against dollar, I think it's not in effect anymore. But either way, when it comes to oil, that would be a very important area. Otherwise, money not necessarily has any value, right? It's something we can take a look at since recently 9/11, right? And that will be a war that had started against Afghanistan. And some people who do not know or understand Gulf countries where all the oil is, so that would be extraction and oil reserves. So then a lot of governments end up in a different country, right? So I thought I would be taking a look at the map, right? Gulf countries, a lot of oil, right? A lot of opportunities. Once that been said, we can take a look at trade and what government is doing when it comes to trade relationships and a lot of value. And in return for that value, perhaps UK's government looking to offer different products and services, right? In return for oil, quote unquote, right? So people stay on point. A new government, it seems that they haven't dropped the ball yet. I'm just saying, right? is staying on top of things, right? UK's ministers are in Gulf this week on a joint visit to boost trade and investment, 1 month out from the International Investment Summit, which is very important, right? A trade secretary, there's a name there, trade policy minister. Douglas, like, oh, okay, we'll meet countries in the Gulf Cooperation Council. So that's the trade and everything what's happening when it comes to oil, right? Including Bahrain, Kuwait, Oman, Qatar, Saudi Arabia, and United States Emirates. Okay. So overall, that with the trade relationships with the group already worth 57 billion, right? I would say if we were to take a look at the map, there's other governments, but not necessarily friendly governments, right? As of now, right? So everything what's happening in the area, right? Let's progress to the next article. Okay, let's take a look at this article. I haven't read it yet, but I believe that will be very important information, and we're going to be closing today's video by taking a look at this article. That will be European Union risk a sad, bad future, right? So, someone is trying to spook people. So let's try to understand it. It might be important actually. It just depends on the leadership and where this current leadership is leaning towards, and decisions that, as of now, perhaps leadership is making is not within their own interest. So they're making decisions influenced by somebody else for perhaps for different favors, all those kind of things, but not for their own interest. Once that been said, I haven't read it. Let's read it together and let's try to understand what's happening, right? European Union brought peace and prosperity to throughout the region in the decades following World War II, but it may lack energy and become important in decades ahead. Not only European economy stagnating, the bloc may also be building or bullied by other governments like Russia, China, and even the United States. While there are potential fixes, such as the plan, former European Central Bank bosses, said out last week that EU and all its members are unlikely to implement them. It's a sad, bad future, right? So again, European Union and the way how they are making those decisions, I completely agree with this person that they're not making a good decisions, and including what's happening in Germany, right? The sad part of progressing is economic states. EU productivity has grown on average only 0.7% a year since 2015. Combine that with the shrinking working age population, and our economy will stall. So there's the names there as well as who's been publishing those reports. But again, European Commission, the bloc executive arm, asked him in produce. Right. So there was a work that was published, but I haven't read this report, right? So that would be overall working age of individuals, as well as I wouldn't say the working age. That's I would say people who are making those decisions not in interest of their governments. They're making decisions based in interest of Russia, China, and or United States. Working age population in EU, China are set to shrink, so that could be potentially a projection. And that would be people who would be working and paying taxes, right? Entire article I already see some politicians' names as well as making statements, but we can all read this graph and understand what this graph is projected to be, right? And overall, Europe is one of the oldest region. Average age of individuals living in Europe is about 4 years, as well increase of pension age with a lot of states within Europe. All these kind of things would add up, right? So I thought it might be worth mentioning. Let's take a look at Blueprint. So there's a name has published Blueprint Revital Allies Europe, right? I haven't read this work that he have completed, but either way, he wants the region to invest an extra 800 billion euros a year, equivalent of nearly 5% its output. Much of the world's fund and industrial policy compete with the United States and China with emphasis to clean technologies and high-tech sectors such as artificial intelligence. EU will also boost its defense to meet the threat from other governments, right? Not necessarily one mentioned the blog. Armed industry suffers from fragmentation. European operates 12 different types of tanks, while the United States makes only one. I don't know. So I'm reading this information, but I not necessarily agree with anything. So because they always want to have one type of tank, I would agree with 12. I would completely agree. Even though I understand manufacturing, how easy it would be to manufacture one instead of 12. But either way, so that would be who would be overseeing the sector and how much, as of now, Europe is spending on no purchasing some of this hardware. So that's a different issue, actual different issue that should be raised, but not what he is pointing out, as well as how you would be able to take down one tank. So one tank would have one set of vulnerabilities compared to 12 different types of tanks. So how would you take down 12? Compared to how you would take down the one type of tank. So there's a different set of issues to 12 compared to just taking down the one. So again, but I get the point. Germany's defense are particularly parallel state, according to the separate report by the Kiel Institute published last week. Russia is now able to produce as many weapons in 6 months as all of the German annual armed forces currently field. With the Germany, so there's a different story there. Let's not comment on Germany. People don't understand history. Okay, let's progress. The action plan does not end there. The former Italian Prime Minister also called for implement of the bloc's single market, increase productivity growth, and reform European government to prevent the region 27 member states from voting so many initiatives. I don't know. So that's potentially how they can move faster, right? With less voices. Well, his proposed laundry list potentially of things that needed to be accomplished, but either way, the political conditions are not ripe to implement them. This is because the most ambitious initiatives covering finances, foreign policy, defense, and governance require unanimous approval by European member states. Then Germany and France a year ago, so we have potentially populations, right? How many people? So let's say where's Poland, where Italy, but we're only focusing on the largest populations within the European Union, right? Germany and France, and two largest countries, have strong governance. They have cooperation with the Commission to embody the EU-wide interest and pursue small countries to adopt new initiatives. Says here you go. Those two largest ones potentially will pressure smaller ones. So here you go. What's more, both leaders are contending with popular far right. Oh, okay. Let's progress to the next bit. Briefly, right? Where is the money? Okay. It's also hard to see how region could raise an extra 800 billion euros a year for investment in theory, or you could borrow some of it. But Germany finance minister shut down the idea within hours of potential proposition, right? National government will not find it easy to find the cash either. France and Italy are already drowning in debt, meaning, and they're suggesting this kind of proposal. This is the people who are drowning in it, and they proposing this. This is kind of the direction they're proposing, and they have a lot of seats and influence for whatever reason. So there are other governments in Europe who are not drowning. There are people who are not drowning, and no one's talking with those people, by the way. There's a lot of governments in Europe who are drowning, and this is what they're proposing, and they're giving this contract to their friends. So by the way, so either way, I don't know. It might be a waste of time. For investment to flow into required quantities, the private sector cost of capital will need to fall by about 2.5% points according to Commission modeling. So the public sector will have to provide physical incentives which pushes the issue back to UN or national budget, right? Fingers crossing the EU prospects aren't all gloom and doom. For a start, next year, federal elections for Germany might produce a strong central right government. Oh, I don't know. We're getting political. That's not what I'm looking for. If anything, I see a lot of government names, or potentially people's names, all these kind of things, right? People who do not know how to handle money, making decisions of and or proposing these plans. Italy is drowning in debt, and that's a person from Italy proposing a plan. So, what would that lead to? That explains everything. Person who doesn't know how to handle the money proposing this plan. By the way, here we go. It's taking 5% from the rest of governments in Europe, taking 5%, which is a great plan, by the way. Either way, so we're gonna be closing this video on the last point, that would be EU's output per head has largely rivaled, right? So in comparison to US, EU, and China, right? So an increased, right? So potentially, if we're looking to compare against anybody, right? If anything, Europe, that just proves the point of people within those, and they're looking for examples of what others are doing instead of doing their own thing. They're constantly comparing to what perhaps other governments are doing, like China, and what the US is doing. And 6 months later, these people copy paste exactly the same plans in Europe. As of now, this is what's happening, and these people are in positions, quote unquote, to make these kind of decisions, right? So let's say Saudi Arabia, they had this plan. Let's say what they're gonna do with 5%. Saudi Arabia have it because they have surplus budget, right? And now copy paste exactly the same plan and propose to Europe, which is very interesting idea. Either way, that's for guys. Thanks for watching. See you next one.